yeah, Thursday edition of Office Hours. We're starting out with something funky and fresh. The Next Level University, Kevin Palmieri and Alan Lazarus, my boys, the dynamic duo, Batman and Robin here in HD, full color, full volume. This is how coaching is done. We're talking about hot seat coaching. I've been doing this for years, but I can't do it better than with my boys, Kevin and Alan. Welcome to Office Hours.
Thank you for having us, Dave. We're ready to hammer it. So, first question. What advice would you give to somebody when it comes to relationships? Somebody who is trying to do what you're trying to do, somebody who is trying to consistently, persistently pursue their potential.
Well, relationships are developed in the same way that a sale is developed. Number one, with credibility. You want to be as close to the truth in a relationship as possible. And then, of course, you need emotional attachment. In all relationships, we need to know what we like and what we don't like about the person. And we have to learn to enjoy both what we like and what we don't like. The old saying about a relationship is those people that know everything about us and like us anyway. That's pretty much an emotional attachment. We should know the reasons and impacts as well as what we give and take in a relationship. I look for relationships, number one, that are aligned, synergistic, supplementary to my values. If a relationship isn't and doesn't have alignment in my values, like one of the closest relationships I had in business, the other person was one of the least grateful people, the least forgiving people, and the least accountable people I've ever met. Extremely inspirational person. But those three things were completely devoid of their value system. And as much as the inspiration and the spirit of excellence and how I felt around it, that relationship was born to die. Because sooner or later, if you're not aligned on your values, the relationship's going to become too stressed, too much interference between you and them, and not allow you to liberate your light and share it with them.
Dave, one thing we've seen a lot of is people who are very quote unquote successful are usually very business minded and they struggle with emotional intelligence. What did you do to level up your emotional intelligence throughout the years?
I think I was blessed to be born with a certain level of emotional intelligence beyond the academic intellectual intelligence that genetically was handed down to me. Just looking at the patterns and the success in my family, my differentiator has been that emotional intelligence that I think I have a quantum potential that's a little bit higher. But moreover, growing up with nothing, having to deal with a bunch of different challenges that most people don't, allowed me to interact in a different way with others and to learn about how other people feel and understand how we tap into that emotion, that energy emotion. And I think that's completely aligned with the empathy as well. I'm an empathetic, right? I feel other people. And that's because of my heightened level of emotional intelligence that I can feel what others feel. This is also the reason I make a horrible doctor, because I'd feel the pain all day long. And, nobody wants a crying, hurt doctor all day.
Dave, when you did have that other business partner that you said didn't align with your values, were you not as clear on your core values back then? And that's why now you would do a values audit ahead of time. Did you do a values audit ahead of time back then? Or was that something you learned after the fact?
Well, I think, as I grew, it became more clear how important those values were to me. It also became more clear that person was devoid of those values. Sometimes we don't know what we don't know. So we start a relationship at a further distance. And as we get closer and closer, just like we do with ourselves, we unpeel, the personality traits, the characteristics, the obsessions and addictions that people have. The more that we spend time, the more we ask questions, the more interested, the more we interact, the more we learn about the history of the person, right? I am sure there's several relationships that I have today that I'm just not close enough to the person or know enough about them to realize that our values are misaligned. And I also, I allow people to change. So I'm one of those people, I trust everyone. I don't go off of history. You could tell me, Kevin, all this stuff about, who Alan is and what he does and what his values are. I have to learn that for myself. Now, if you raise those red flags, I'm going to ask the hard questions now. So if you tell me, Alan's not a grateful person, I'm going to start looking for that to see how grateful he is, ask questions to determine that accountability, whatever it would be. So I do listen to indicate whether I should search or seek information to determine for myself what somebody's values are.
So we were just on, I was just on a coaching call. So Helen Baker is actually a client of mine, which is super exciting. So she was so pumped that you actually just decided to help and invest in one of her kids, not her kids, but one of the kids on her show. My question for you is, what is it that you look for? I've heard you say this on your podcast. It's not the idea, it's the person that you invest in. Why did you invest, and what can we all learn from that?
Well, I think it's more than just the person, right? After I know this is the right person, because I don't care if you have an A+ idea. If you're the wrong person, I'm not in, right? I've seen too many A+ ideas die because it has the wrong person. And just like the best horses in the world don't win if there's a bad jockey on them. So once I determine it's the right entrepreneur, and this young man is definitely an extreme entrepreneur, but moreover, after that, he was capable of articulating a quantitative value more than what he's asking for. So there are two components. One, is it the right entrepreneur? But two, did the person articulate the quantitative value to be greater than what they're asking for, according to the credibility of that entrepreneur, the emotional attachment I had to the entrepreneur and the idea, the reasons that are quantifiably explained, the impact it's going to have, which is important to me and my value system. And then how did he equate the features and benefits and capabilities to supplement synergistically and align with the quantitative value that he was articulating?
Dave, we're very blessed because we have a successful podcast and we get to talk to amazing people like you. You're always focused on making sure you're not the best in the room, I'm sure, in some way, shape, or form. What advice do you give to people who automatically allow not being the best in the room to leak into their identity? Because that's happened to me a little bit throughout the process, but I think I've gotten better because I've understood it better. What advice do you give to people?
Well, I think everyone has different superpowers. So, I don't try to compare myself, because comparison is the thief of joy. I think to understand, certain criteria, if you're the smartest one in the room, you're in the wrong room. In other words, the smartest one about the subject matter, right? I don't compare myself as far as intellectual or emotional intelligence. But when I talk about not being the smartest one in the room, it's about subject matter. I don't want to be the smartest one in the room of the subject matter that we're discussing, because I can't get as much out of it as having someone that knows more about it to ask them for directions, and then allow them to ask me about subject matters that I'm maybe a specialist at or an expert at, or have more expertise than they do. Or maybe we can combine and blend those expertise to create a whole new perspective of two things by looking at them differently, as we always say, right? Change the way you look at things, and things you look at change. So I think to not let it leak in is just simply to remind myself I'm not in a race with these people. I'm not comparing myself. I'll give you a good example. I work closely with Gary Vaynerchuk, and it's really tempting when people, say things about Gary, about, feeling, wow, he's, gets paid more for speaking than I do. He gets chosen to be on things that I don't get chosen to be on. He has 9 million followers, and, he's just saying the same thing. It's not true. He's better. He knows more about it. He's been doing it longer. And instead of trying to compare myself to him and let that leak into me, as you said, Kevin, more importantly, I go the opposite direction and go, what can I learn from him? I want to learn from him. I want him to keep on learning so he can keep pulling me closer and closer to the levels of awareness that he has. And I don't want to pay the dummy tax that he's had to pay in order to effectuate the success that he had. But in the end, he's running a completely different race. You're running a different race. Alan's running a different race. And guess what? We all can help each other run a better race. That makes us feel better instead of comparing ourselves and stealing our joy.
Dave, is there any upside? I noticed that a lot of people live, as you say, in a world of not enough. And a lot of people treat this industry or business like a competition, and they're not running their own race. A lot of it's like, well, I don't want you to steal my listeners, or blah, 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 whatever any of that is. first of all, what's the misunderstanding, the fundamental misunderstanding to that thinking? And then how do we showcase statistically or mathematically, like, why everyone wins when each of us win? I find that to be such a rare quality to understand, like, you succeeding is going to help us succeed and vice versa. Why don't more people think that way? And how can we try to help them understand that, and including me as well? I want to understand it at a deeper level as well.
It takes a deeper level of faith to believe there's more than enough of everything for everyone, because our primal nature says there's not enough, right? And I need to feed myself. And if you're feeding on something, then I won't have enough to feed on. Right. And so I need to fight you for it, or you need to fight me and I need to run away, or, we need to unite. These are all fear-based emotions. And so the whole core of scarcity is there's not enough. And so until you can address the issue and to have a perception or a belief or faith that there's more than enough of everything for everyone, you will be incapable of not living your life in that trade-off, that shortage, void, and obstacle, the resistance shortage that is created by, understanding that if you have something, I can't have it, right? Look, I think one of the funniest things that proves this is, Netflix, right? How many programs are on Netflix? But how many people are begging you to recently and saying, hey, what are you watching anything good? Is it because you watch Tiger King, you're not going to watch anything else, and all the viewers of the Tiger King isn't going to watch, this? No, it's the same thing.
Right.
People are begging for good stuff, and the more that you provide good stuff, and the more you can provide more people with good stuff, the more good stuff there is. But the truth is, there's more than enough of everything, and it's really just a matter of having faith that there is enough of everything, let alone more than enough.
Appreciate that.
I'm going to hit you with an Alan 2-part question. So, number one, what is the biggest difference between Dave's identity today and Dave's identity 5 years ago? And how often do you feel like your identity is shifting, or you're having a new awareness that makes you pivot?
Yeah, that's a great question, by the way. So ever since I've instituted the 5 daily practices that I live by, I have dealt in incremental growth and acceleration. So it's very hard for me to distinguish the exponential change that has occurred over the last 5 years. The 5 daily practice, obviously, of knowing my what, my who, my how, my now, and applying my why to the what, the who, the how, and now. And so my growth is exponential, but it's incremental. So it's very hard for me living it every day to go ahead and evaluate the quantitative difference. But as I look back 5 years, although it seems like I'd be the same person, all of the incremental growth and acceleration and compound interest of that exponential growth, I can see huge differences in my awareness, in my humility, in my understanding of practicing what I teach. And so I think the major difference is what you're talking about is a higher understanding of pursuing my own potential. I think the greatest difference of David today compared to 5 years ago is I've truly found and learned to love myself. I'm not worried about what other people think. I'm not worried most of the time, right? But a majority of the time, comparatively, at minutes and moments outside of this, but not worried about what I don't want, what's missing. I have much more faith that I am angling towards what I want, and I'm ending up somewhere better. Where 5 years ago, I don't think I had the certainty of self that I have today.
Dave, there's a couple paradigms that I've found in my coaching that I look at deeply with people, and it shifts everything, is the way they view themselves and the way they view the world, and whether or not that's an optimistic growth view. And I think that, I guess, what, from your perspective, all the people that you've interviewed, the science you've studied, everything you've understood of just observing and learning this stuff, when you change the way you look at something, the thing you look at changes. Can you go into a little bit more depth as to why someone's life changes so drastically when they view themselves differently? because it's very hard from a pragmatic perspective to articulate the ways in which that manifests. But I think that you could probably explain it better than I can. I'm just very curious.
I think what you're getting at is we give meaning to everything we see, and you can't find inside of you. You can't find outside of you what you can't find inside of you, which is where that term change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And that's down to a quantum level, right? To a quark. You know, you can actually, if you view something differently, it changes what you're viewing down to the quantum level of energy itself. So understanding that we need to look inside of us first to find what we want outside of us is the key component of giving meaning to everything that we see. Once we realize that we can find the light, the love, and the lessons that determinative upon our quantum being, certain things are easier, harder, or intermediarily easy to love or hard to love. But regardless, there's love in everything. So if we make our quest, our journey about finding the light, the love, and the lessons, instead of just naturally saying, I don't like that, I don't love that, I hate that. And I use food as my best analogy of it. It's amazing. You both could walk by a market, never had even eaten a kiwi before, and one of you would say, that looks great, and the other would say, ugh. Now, you've never even eaten it before, but there's something at a quantum level that is attracting a frequency that's telling you that at a quantum level, that's kiwi is easy to love or easy to hate. Now, obviously, there's love in a kiwi. And obviously, if you look within you and you change your perception, you should be able to learn to love a kiwi. And especially if you've never even tried it. And so many times when we try something, it changes our perceptions as well. So that just doesn't look good. And then we taste it and we're like, oh, this tastes much better than it looks. So I think the same thing holds true with all nutrients. And nutrients aren't just food. It's ideas, it's people, it's experiences, all the different things that make up a materialized world are nothing but nutrients. And once we come to the realization that we control the ability to learn to love or like or not like something, allows us to find the meaning in it. And we can't do it other than looking inside ourselves.
Dave, how much have you held your own potential back by being around not nutritious things, persons, places, things, and ideas? I thought about that the other day, and I was thinking to myself, like, I have spent so much of my time around toxins, not nutrients, but I understand that all of us do that in our growth journey, and I'm not, imposing regret on that. But I had a moment where I was like, wow, like, I used to drink a lot. I definitely was not in growth environments. Like, I didn't have very high standards for who I spent time with. Like, I really have held myself back a lot. On a personal level, do you feel that way as well? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the biggest paradigm shift that I have is that, and it comes in that same abundant awareness and philosophy that everything already exists, right? There's more than enough of everything. So once I realize, for example, I am healthy, what am I doing to interfere with my health? I am happy. What am I doing to interfere with my happiness? I am worthy. What am I doing to interfere with my worthiness? I am wealthy. What am I doing to interfere with my abundance and wealth? And once you shift the paradigm to realize that these things that you call, negative energy or whatever, it's just interference between you and this great source of abundance, this great source of light, love, and lessons, this great source of power that puts enough power in your pinky to light up all of Manhattan. This is what we're talking about, is once you shift the paradigm that you don't have to go out and get it, right? You just have to get rid of the things that are interfering with it. And that could be people, places, things, podcasts, books, exercise, foods. There's all kinds of different things that you're doing to interfere with what you already are. And once you shift that paradigm, I think your free will is utilized not to go get things, but to clear the way for it to come to you and through you for others.
Wow. Interesting. We were not taught that growing up. I was not taught that growing up.
I definitely wasn't either.
Yeah, me neither. But it's, the two powerful worlds. It's funny. First time I was exposed to I am was in the 11th grade. I was in AP English reading Kierkegaard, existentialism, and the arrogance of a 17-year-old was enormous, because I remember telling my advanced placement English professor, who I loved, Arthur Shore, who's passed away, I'm like, why are we spending all this time talking about two words that are obvious. And he just said to me, let me give you another two words. Is it? I'm like, is it? He goes, I am. Is it that obvious? Is it that obvious? Is I am that obvious? And he says, I think someday you'll realize that you could spend a lifetime figuring out those two words. Until this day, I now spend minimum probably 30 minutes a day seeking, searching, and learning who I am. Because as I established through the law of gravity who I am, being at the right place at the right time, feeling and learning and loving myself through those lessons I've learned, then I can distinguish what's interfering with what I am. And by taking inventory of my values, knowing my what, my who, my how, and my now, and applying my why to it, I'm capable of better understanding what's inside of me so I can find what I want outside of me. And these two words are extremely powerful. And that's why we haven't learned them at a young age, right? We're too worried teaching people in a scarce world what they need to go get, how they need to put judgments and conditions and attacks in a limited world, not a limitless world, not an infinite world, but a limited world where there's not enough or just enough. But instead, if we could just teach people about the connectivity of all and the abundance of all, we would all be better off.
Alan and I have definitely had a recent shift of I am/we are. So most of our listeners, Dave, are women. And I'm convinced that I am, we are is the people that can succeed without ego. What do you think would happen in a world with no ego?
Well, I would say if I could have one invention, it would be the egoectomy, but it's not going to happen. So I think we are despite ego, right? So I'm a minutes and moments person. So I don't think we can live devoid of ego because the ego does protect the embodiment, right? It does protect our body. Now, the body, unfortunately, creates a separation between us and everything else. It creates its own identity. But if we can spend only minutes and moments in ego-based consciousness and the rest of the time in an abundant ego-less environment, we're going to expand and grow and accelerate. We're going to be, happier, healthier, wealthier, and worthier than we've ever imagined. But I think, searching for potential or attaching our emotions to a potential or a truth that is so difficult to comprehend. It's always, I always say, like, people say, well, if you could raise your awareness by increasing your vibration, well, why don't you just keep on raising your awareness and win the lottery? I said, if I could vibrate that fast to tell the future or past or whatever it would be, I wouldn't want to be here. I think the same thing would hold true, that if you lived ego-less, not minutes and moments in ego, but without ego, there would be no need for the body and you wouldn't be here.
Did you notice a giant shift when you stopped living in ego, like in ego land with the people, places, things that you attracted into your life? Like, do you consciously realize the difference?
Oh, absolutely. Number one, I consciously fired people from my life, the interference in my life, persons, places, and things in my life, experiences in my life. And then, I let others fall away. Every day that I clear more interference between me and the great source of light, love, and lessons, the more I feel empowered, the more I feel the ability to empower others, the more energy that I have, the more capability of productivity, accessibility, and gratitude that I utilize in my life, the more expansion, growth, acceleration, the more I see the compound effect of clearing that interference as well. So without a doubt, it's been a tremendous transformation.
I often say that time, energy, and money are our three human resources, and where we allocate those resources are going to determine the quality of ourselves and the quality of our lives. I think that where you allocate time, energy, and money, though, I think it has to do with where you place your focus, what you focus on, where you place your awareness. And so one small example of that might be, well, if I place my awareness on something toxic versus something nutritious, I'm going to most likely allocate. So if I read an investment book on finance, I'm more likely to be more intelligent with my money. Can you go into kind of your perspective on what I just said, and what do you believe determines where you allocate allocate those resources. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so this will be the last question because we're going to get started with Blaine. Look, you have a few things in there that you need to understand. One, money is energy. So they're indistinguishable. They're both infinite and they're abstract. They're an infinite thing. And energy is infinite, and so is money. There's enough of it, more than enough of it. It's endless. It's a renewable resource. We can a currency is an object of energy that you put into the flow to get what you want. Money is a currency. It's an object of energy you put into the flow to get what you want. Just like faith, by the way. The variable that you're not distinguishing correctly, Alan, is time. See, time is not a renewable resource. Time's a man-made construct. It's a parameter that creates limits and separations to the infinite and to the abundance that you want. And so where I would suggest paying your attention and putting your intention to create those coincidences according to the one stable variable of everyone's man-made life, which is you get 24 hours of activity a day. Everybody. Now, you can bend those activities. You can create efficiencies, effectiveness, and statistical success with lenses of productivity, accessibility, and gratitude. There's all types of things you can do. But the only stable data that you have in an embodiment is that you get 24 hours activity a day. Not guaranteed tomorrow. Not guaranteed. But you will get 24 hours today. And if the sun does come out, you will be given 24 hours tomorrow to create activity. Energy and money, renewable resources, infinite, one and the same. You give meaning to what you see of that energy. You give the value of what you see. Tomorrow, someone could tell you that diamonds are worthless and Bitcoin's worth more than a diamond, or Dogecoin is worth more than Bitcoin, or it's.
Dave, we lost you. I think you hit mute on accident.
That's Matt shutting me up, saying you got to get off. People are waiting.
All
right.
Dave, thank you so much.
Dave, we love you.
Appreciate you.
Next Level University, Kevin Palmieri, Alan Lazaris, my boys, the best coaching clients in the world, the dynamic duo. Hopefully you'll get as much out of this as I do. I thank you both for putting the work in to be prepared for these sessions. I get more out of it than you do. Thank you for stretching this growing forehead of mine. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you,
Dave.
Dave.
We love you.
Talk to you soon.
I love you too. All right, let's bring my mentor on then. learn.blainebartlett.com/LMM. That's right, the Mindset Mastermind, my mentor, here on time as usual, here on Office Hours. And Blaine, a few weeks from now, we'll be on TV together for Office Hours. And your date set in, and we're very, very excited. I know Claudia's here patiently waiting for us, and now she is here too. And let me give a shout out to Sean Hopwood, by the way. He is the earliest guest I've ever had join me, and I appreciate someone that's here on time. He's like first one to show up to work and the last one to leave. That's a special guest for you. Anyway, Claudia, how are you?
Hey, how are you guys? Nice to see you.
Oh, so good to see you. Well, Dig It Apparel, first of all, is a brilliant name, ClaudiaHarvey.com. And you want to promote the Spot My UV, which is, I will tell you, when it comes to skin care, to me, I got and was blessed to go meet with the Surgeon General. And I was prepared with questions. So I asked him, what are our greatest health issues in America? And, one of them was something I had no idea. The first one was by far obvious, which was smoking. And then the second one was obvious to me, which was obesity. And then the third one was skincare. The third of all the health issues, I thought for sure it'd be cancer or whatever. I knew smoking and obesity would be there, but skincare was there. And here now you have this great solution. You have the shark himself, Kevin O'Leary, launching with you. But give us a little background on where you saw this great need that obviously I didn't see when it came to protecting ourselves.
Oh, thank you. Well, Spot My UV is a product that tells the wearer when their sunscreen is effective or not. So for lack of a better word, it's a sticker that you put on your skin. And when it goes on your skin, you put it on your skin. It then, you put your sunblock on, and the sticker will turn clear if your sunblock is protecting your skin. It acts like your skin. When the sunblock leaves your body, the product will go purple. That's why it's in a purple package. And it's great for all day. It's great for swimming, sweating, enjoying your life outside. And we all want to be outside now. We all want to be in the sunshine, right? So it's a product that we saw. It's made in Canada. It's actually invented in Canada, made in the United States. And it's created by nanotechnology engineers, brilliant young men. And I found them about 2 years ago. We bought the company in December 2020, and we have now launched this product in CVS's, in Walmart's, and Amazon, on our own website, so across the United States.
Yeah, Blaine and I needed that when we were in the Bahamas drinking tequila.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I had no idea. I needed to put it right here on my forehead. This thing's like a solar panel. This thing's like a solar panel. I have no idea how it wears off.
Yeah, it's. I was watching For All Mankind TV series on, I think it was Netflix. The radiation detectors, that the astronauts would wear on the moon. And there was an episode around a solar flare, and
Right.
this is reminding me of that, obviously, because it is it detects radiation. Essentially,
It's ultraviolet light on your body. So, and it tells the wearer exactly when the ultraviolet light is going to affect your body in an adverse way. So, people of all ages, that's the size of the dot. That's the size.
I was going to ask how.
It's really, it's small, but it's really effective because it's purple and you can see it. So a mom can put it on her kids. Any person can put it on themselves when they're playing sports or being active outside. It basically tells the wearer exactly when they need to reapply sunscreen. What I really liked about the product, I'm a mom, I've got 3 kids, and it was a product that I think will change lives, literally change lives, because skin cancer comes out generally in a person when they're in their adult lives. But it's the sun damage that you have as a child that accumulates over time, and that's the sun damage that will go into your cells and your skin, and that will come out in skin cancer or damage over the course of your life. So it's going to change lives.
It's water resistant, so I could go swimming with it. So David and I could go spearfishing in the Bahamas, and
again, I'm coming. So yes, you can.
No, you're always invited. That's so good. It's interesting. I have done a couple of really nice shows about pitching. We had elevator pitch with Entrepreneur, and now I have 2-minute drill. And I can tell you some of the best businesses like yours, and I will give you complete props because I'm blown away. It's one of those products you're like, why didn't I think of that? My son was at football camp, came back a little bit red, and I asked my wife, didn't you put the spray on? And here she's like, yeah, it must have worn off. And he said, yeah, well, we had a barbecue and swimming, but you didn't know that because I thought it was just football camp. And obviously the swimming pool affected his suntan lotion. Right. But I can't tell you how many women start businesses out of necessity, which is, to me, one of the great catalysts of all businesses. We really understand the needs of protecting our children.
Right.
And that makes a great business, whether it's in the car seat space where they have the jacket that zips into the car seat because moms are the only ones that know how hard it is to put on and off the jacket and not protect their children, or whatever it may be, or backpack helmets that they have for kids because it's dangerous with those little backpacks. And here's just another example of women designing by women, great companies. The majority of the winners of my show, the new show, are women, and they always seem to have a better eye on what's needed. Do you think there's a maternal instinct to distinguish that, or there's some other aspect of being a woman that I may not understand, obviously being a middle-aged white male?
Yeah. Certainly there's a maternal instinct. Like I saw the product. It is not my invention. And in fact, it was made and invented by 3 gentlemen. 3
kind of like basketball.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Used all in America, but invented in Canada.
To the north, right? But as a mom and as a woman, I saw how effective this could be, again, to change lives and change kids' lives over the course of their lifespan. And being a middle-aged white woman, I love the product because it's going to also affect my skin as an older person on the cosmetic side, right? So I was instilled early on to put sunblock on my body from my mom, but I think she was ahead of her time. So I am blessed with really, really great skin right now, but it's still I don't put my face in the sun. I love the feel of the sun though. I love it. Being in Canada, we only have like 4 short months of the year that has sunshine and warmth.
You mean weeks. You mean weeks, not months.
Weeks, yeah. You confuse them with months because they seem so long in the winter.
Oh, it's so long and dark sometimes, honestly. So I love sunshine. So I saw this product and thought, this is a wonderful product for me to go out and enjoy being in the sunshine, which I love, get my wonderful fix of sun, but still stay protected. And beyond just having to wear hats and clothing and UV protection clothing.
That's funny because Blaine and I are old enough that, they may not believe us, but people would put oil on their skin. So they would get more sun. And I will tell you this about Blaine's wife, who's one of my mentors as well, the head of the Unstoppable Foundation, the founder. Talk about beautiful skin. I get hurt because she's a lot older than me. You could tell her I said this, Blaine. His wife's a lot older than me, but she looks a lot younger.
Good for her.
Yeah, I'm a lot older than you, and I look a lot younger.
Who isn't, right? Bob Proctor's a lot older than me, and he looks a lot younger.
Claudia, I'm interested because you saw a niche with this product. How did you find a way to kind of, if you did, and this is an if you did question, with Dig It? What's the synergies there with the apparel company?
Yeah, well, thank you.
And I'm assuming that there's an obvious one, but.
Yeah, so Dig It started way back in 2009. So we've been in business for 10 years. And again, Canadian company. I literally started the company out of my kitchen table with my kids running around, literally. So I came from the corporate world, created Dig It Apparel, and it is a company that started with this glove that has a nail protective tip built inside each fingertip that protects the lady's fingernails in the garden from debris and dirt. And we have an industrial design patent on the glove. This glove started in Canada, tiny, 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 and then went on Dragon's Den, partnered with Kevin O'Leary at the time, and it just sort of took off. Now, the same woman that has stayed loyal to our brand with all our other products also is the same woman that would buy Spot My UV. The same person that would buy Spot My UV. So we have actually now found that a lot of men actually like the gloves too. So it's made by women for women, but it's evolved into a generic brand for any type of person. But the same, back to the niche. We created a niche product with this because the garden industry was growing 15 to 17%. The women in the spa industry was growing 15 to 17%, and the same woman was going to both. So it was a woman that wanted to take care of herself, but still wanted to be active. That woman still likes to take care of herself and her family. So this product, Spot My UV, aligns with that. It's the same woman, the same need, and it's now multi-generational because it's not just a woman buying the product, it's also their husbands, their partners, their kids. And then again, we will instill some wonderful sun habits in the younger generation. By the time they're 15, they'll probably be, I don't need sunblock, blah, blah, blah. But by the time they're 21, 22 and have wicked sunburns, they'll come back to understanding how important it is to protect your skin. So we've now expanded our consumer base beyond just women that take care of themselves. It's now themselves and their families and multi-generational.
And last question. Oh, Blake, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, yeah.
I was going to finish up before we bring Sean on. So not only are you an extraordinary entrepreneur and philanthropist, obviously with great impact in protecting so many people from so many different things, but you're also an inspirational speaker, which I found, as Blaine and I do a lot of speaking around the world, exceptionally important because a woman like you should be a milestone to so many other young women about the possibilities and probabilities in their lives. So I was hoping maybe with the last minute here, you could share the topic or subject matter of your inspirational speaking and what message you're trying to convey.
Basically, I speak about taking the doors of opportunity, open up, walking through, and other doors of opportunity will open up. That is how I've lived my life. And when you have that niggly feeling that you're not doing what you should be doing, listen to that inner voice and make sure that you reverse engineer where you want to be in your life, because life is extremely short. And every single stepping stone that we have in our experience is a stepping stone to the next opportunity. And who knows what those doors of opportunity will open up and who you'll be able to meet and how you'll be able to network. And it's just not fearing opportunities, because opportunities are a wonderful thing. They're wonderful. You can never go wrong with opportunities. Never go wrong with taking that leap, because you'll see what your life can unfold.
I love it. And you are extraordinary. We dig you and dig it apparel. Of course, I'm going out and buying some of those stickers. I'm just telling you that right now.
Oh, I am too. Yeah, I'd like those gloves too. I got a garden I'm working with.
That's spotted the Spot My UV.
Spot My UV. I got 4 children and my wife who burned her stomach in Cabo last week. I needed it there too. So thank you so much. I have ClaudiaHarvey.com. Where else can people reach you, Claudia? ClaudiaHarvey.com, BGWealthGroup.com, and DigItApparel.com, SpotMyUV.com. We have lots of websites. So lots of ways to reach me. Yes. They're everywhere. And they're everywhere. Thank you so much for all the great work.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Claudia.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, King of Patience. Here he comes. The first man in, the last man out. Sean.
Come on in. Sean.
Hi, how are you all?
I'm doing great. Sean's the CEO of Day Translations, daytranslations.com. Yep. And interpreting obviously is a big deal. They have a new interpreting app that was created by his company, Day Translations, and over 100+ languages worldwide. I'm so intrigued by this, Sean, because I was talking to my wife. I think translation to me is the apex of how the education system has changed. And let me tell you why. Okay. I think it's important to learn another language because it's one of the mechanisms to utilize our brain in a different manner. And there's a certain component in our brain. And I think education's moving like physical exercise to understanding through AI, through augmented reality, being able to exercise parts of our brain that we used to manually have to exercise with, like learning languages. But to me, if I can repeat for my children that same muscular exercise, but more efficiently without having to learn a language, the practicality of language is about the same as math. Right? I mean, like, honestly, because I know that your app, like, literally, like, why would I learn one language when your app can translate, you know, and it's only going to get better and better, right? I mean, it's going to be full connotation, intonation of what I'm saying, and the other person can hear me in full Mandarin, and I can hear them in full English. You know, I think it's changing the entire connectivity of the world to be able to translate in such a quick and effective and accurate manner.
Oh, for sure. Being able to translate efficiently is extremely important. It's been something that people have been trying to do for a long time. Even if you look back into old Star Trek episodes, they would have the little translators on there. And so it's been something people have always been so passionate and wanting to do. I don't know how long it's going to take to where it's fully automated, but I'm a strong believer in automation. Right now, we have different options. We have the options for just, having a translator or an interpreter, a real live interpreter. We have, you can do machine translation. You can do human assisted translation. There's a lot of different options, but I definitely believe it exercises that part of the brain. And a lot of people are kind of scared to do it. They're scared to learn a language. I mean, there's smaller ways you can exercise your brain, such as doing like crossword puzzles or Sudoku, but learning another language, it doesn't just teach you how to exercise the brain. It teaches you different concepts you wouldn't even understand. Like in Portuguese, there's a concept called saudade. It's this feeling you get whenever you have a very strong, you're longing for someone that you haven't seen in a long time, In German, they have the term Schadenfreude, which means the feeling you get when you see someone else you hate that's in a lot of pain, and it makes you happy. So it's, we don't have there's a lot of concepts, and even when I'm thinking in my mind, I think of concepts that there is no word for. And I was wondering, I would think, well, how would I make up a word for that concept? So it's pretty interesting. It's amazing. It's something I love working with. I've been working with languages ever since I was 8 years old. So it's a big passion of mine.
Yeah, in Japanese, just the word results has two variations, seiku and keiku. It's higher level and lower level results. It's kind of which one are we talking about? Yeah. And what's interesting about that for me is, language reflects reality, but it also creates reality. So to the point that David was making, if I'm learning a different language, I start thinking about the world in a different way. And so reality takes on a completely different cast. When I'm thinking, I've got a really good friend I've known for years, speaks Japanese better than a native Japanese speaker, lived in Japan for years, and lives stateside now. But I would watch him transition from speaking English into speaking Japanese, and physiologically he would change. His entire physiology would shift. Because he was so incredibly fluent in Japanese, he couldn't not get into the physiology of Japanese.
Exactly. So, I was dating a girl. Oh, sorry. I was dating a girl, and I would speak to her in English. When she was Hispanic, she said, "Speak to me in Spanish. You're nicer in Spanish." And your whole personality changes sometimes with the language because you have to take on that culture. I just wanted to iterate that I really see your point. I agree with you totally. Yeah.
So how does your platform actually, if it does, facilitate that to the degree that it would be possible, given it's a machine translation at this point?
Well, we do a combination. Mostly the larger demand for us is in for human translation. We do have a translation app, just like Google Translate. You can use it, and it's getting better with the artificial intelligence and neural linguistic programming (NLP). What you do is you just continue to feed it information. And a company like ours, we feed it. The data is a lot better. Because the data that we feed neurolinguistic processor, they actually it's better data because it's coming from professional translators. But the thing that on the human side, what we do is there's a couple terms for it. One is called transcreation, and another one is called localization. Localization is like localizing something for different countries. Like in United States, we call McDonald's, and Australia, I think they call it Macca's or something. So there's a whole different way that people look at things. So you have to localize and then transcreate, which is just like it sounds. You're translating plus you're creating something new. It's kind of like you're not translating word for word. You're taking artistic liberties with the translation to make it sound better for a different audience. And you'll see this a lot in movies. When you watch movies, they're not ever translated the same way. I mean, like Die Hard is, it's translated to hard to kill. I believe in Spanish it says it's translated to difícil de matar. I think like hard to kill. I think, but so you can't. There's really no literal translation of everything because cultures are so different. It's basically like I look at them as kind of like synonyms. So yeah, we all just that's what we do at our company. We have experts that look into the original document and then we translate it. If it's something really scientific and very basic, we keep it very, very professional and word for word. But if it's something more artistic or a book, it takes a lot longer and it's really hard because you have to translate the humor, you have to translate idioms. It's very hard.
Yeah. I mean, both creation in the speaking realm. I know, Blaine and I both speaking around the world and have had translators. And, number one, I speak quickly, which already makes it difficult. And then I use sarcasm and local humor. But the subtleties and importance and the return on investment of a writer in the corporate setting, because you can be taken the wrong way. And I remember one time doing a speech and I have, one of, the key components in my speech is talking about, just because somebody loves you doesn't mean they give you good advice. And the way that I illustrate this is a story about my mom. And I always say I graduated law school and I had this great job offer as a lawyer, an oil and gas litigator, and another job in the internet. And my mom, she said, you have to be a real lawyer because the internet's a fad. And I forget what I was, but fad meant something completely different.
Yeah.
And instead of getting like a huge laugh and, a good part of the speech, timing, everything was thrown off because everyone's looking at me like, what did he just say? You said, what about my mom? Like, and I mean, we talk about subtleties of success and the nuances of the languages. And we've seen commercials about this. I remember the beer commercial where the guy's, he thinks he knows the language and he's just offending everyone everywhere. You cannot put a price on that. How many customers have you been able to onboard and utilize today? Because I can imagine, it's just growing with the opening of the world and the necessity for correct transcreation with date translations. What exactly and how big is the business now?
Well, we've been around for almost 15 years, so it's gotten quite big. I was a translator myself. I personally speak 7 languages, and it started doing well very from the beginning. Right now, I would say we get about 80 new clients a day, which is good. I mean, there's some really big there's some bigger companies out there, and we strive to be like them. But I'm happy with what we have. I want to grow. We get about 80 clients a day. For our interpreting app, it's not as much I was like. We get about 10 or 15 new signups per day. But these are big hospitals and corporations, so they use us a lot. Hospitals or even the law force or the police force, or they need, like at 3 a.m, they'll need someone to interpret for them. And the big thing about us is in the United States, a lot of people just think Spanish, but we do every language. So some people have a Hispanic person on staff that will be able to translate, but we do everything. So if you have someone coming from Haiti, we'll do the Haitian Creole. If you have someone from Saudi Arabia, we'll do Arabic, Chinese, French, anything you need. So it's a really good thing for people to outsource to us, because it's so hard to specialize in language. And it's something that I've kind of dedicated my entire life to. So, this is what we do. It's a really good niche to be in right now. It's something that I really love. And I was listening to everything you were saying. You said, I did get here early, but I was like really entertained. Like I was getting the knowledge when you were talking about like how money is just energy and it's a currency. Mm-hmm. I feel like that whenever you're able to translate for people, you're able to access their energy a little bit better. You're able to access the energy and facilitate the flow of energy from one person to the next. And when you can facilitate that flow or that currency, you can help others make more money. Because if they're just like that block off, you can't communicate, the energy is just cut off. So I kind of went off the tangent, but yeah, I like that.
Obviously you need, nothing except for more people. And I can imagine, like I said, what a business based off of a strong ROI, even you've worked with, and I can see why the news companies, how important it is to be able to translate 24 hours a day, the news, especially because we need such stable, accurate data in the news. People can find you at daytranslations.com. Very easy on-demand interpreting and also transcreation, which I'm going to utilize that translation as well in localization of language. Anywhere else or anything else you want to add before we let you go, Sean?
Well, no, but anyone who's listening can surely contact me on Day Translations, or my personal website is seanhopwood.com. And I'm really active in trying to help other entrepreneurs and other people wanting to learn about what I do. So, I'm here if anyone has any questions. I'm very open.
Gracias. Que lo pase bien, amigo.
A ti también. Gracias.
Gracias.
Arigato.
Adios. Arigato.
He's awesome. Thank you. First in, last one to leave. What a great business.
Facilitating flow. That's a great way to summarize what he does. It's nothing happens without communication. I mean, it doesn't. Nothing happens without communication. So
clear it. Well, good. Let's bring Daniel on. Daniel Beck.
We got a question coming up here, Dan.
401 Go. Obviously, about our 401k is a fully automated plan, setup process. One of the cornerstones of our financial security in the United States, and one which is consistently changing and questioning itself. Daniel, loved it. Hear a tiny bit about, anything we miss on 401 Go, and a question that you have for Blaine and I to help you.
Yeah, so I'm sure everybody's super excited to hear about 401k. So
if they're not, they should.
They would be if the stock market crashes. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
So really, our vision first and foremost is to change that perception of 401k. We want it to be fun if possible, and really, as we've kind of dove into the problem of Americans not being ready for retirement, we've learned that it's really the segment of the population that's taking and utilizing 401ks the most tend to be the wealthier, and those that oftentimes have financial resources outside of like a workplace sponsored retirement program. So our focus is really, first and foremost, small businesses, and just for the simple fact they don't have anything. So we've automated all the setup, the ongoing administration, really everything related to a 401k. So you can just pretty much with a click of a button plug it into your payroll system and offer it to your employees. And then it goes even a step further in that we have a fierce focus on participant outcomes. So we want to get that $10 an hour employee saving for retirement at age 19, because if we can develop those those good saving habits today, it's going to pay dividends in the long run. So that's really our focus, is just how do we get more people prepared for retirement.
Awesome. You got a question for Blaine and I?
Yeah. So as we've worked with a lot of different businesses, we find that they're really putting together benefits as a way of driving kind of culture for the company. And that's, in many ways, a culture of caring and compassion. And, I know that you both talk a lot about how businesses can be, a very positive influence, in the communities where they serve. But I feel like that obviously has to start at the company. If the company doesn't have a good culture and a culture of caring and a culture that's positive and engaging, it's hard for them to benefit the community. So what are ways that benefits are you institute and set up a benefit, but to go a step further, and how do you really kind of institute at the company level for a small organization up to a big organization, really that culture of caring and just a positive culture that's going to benefit the business, but also the community.
Lane, you want the first one?
Yeah, this book over my shoulder that David and I co-wrote, Compassionate Capitalism.
Yeah.
My simple and short answer on that, Dan, is rooted in the outcome that book speaks to, and it's a mindset. Leaders need to be able to actually come from a position that their role in life is to uplift the experience of being alive on this planet. That's the purpose of business, to uplift the experience of being alive on this planet, to enhance the possibility of that being true. And if I'm doing that, I'm going to have my service or product people will be, they're going to beat down the doors to access that. And that includes my employee base. If working for my organization is a way to enhance my experience of being alive on this planet, I'm going to want to be a part of this. How do I go about achieving that? Well, one of the ways that I go about achieving that is I care about my employees' future. And there's an extrapolation that begins to occur out of that. So it's the mindset of caring, the mindset of connection, the mindset of we are not separate, we're all part of a whole here. Very early on in this segment, David was talking about I am. Just the nature of I am. I am is undifferentiated. It is. So where we get into trouble is when we think I am is different than you are. No, I am includes the whole. And so it's that mindset, and it's that mindset made practical. What are the steps that I can take to actually leverage that?
Excellent.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I was blessed to be a collaborator on that book, Compassionate Capitalism. One of the nuances of being a value-based company, a value-based leader, is to not only put values up on the wall, in mission statements, but to programmatically included in all aspects of your business. You know, one of the things I think I've learned over the 35 years of being a leader and executive in all types of businesses, sizes, scopes, and scales, that to walk the walk, you know, from the very first day to talk about gratitude and forgiveness and accountability and inspiration, and then to remind people and to bonus them on gratitude, forgiveness, and to remind them at every meeting that this is the 4 things that we're here for. And gratitude by itself enables an employee to learn to love everything they do, to switch from this is a place of work to here is a place where we have activities that we get paid for.
Yeah.
And we want to be as productive, accessible, and gracious with our time in these activities. And you have the power, which is, you know, illustrated in compassionate capitalism, with your mindset and your heart set to apply and seek the light, the love, and the lessons in all these activities that we do. And this is an open place to make mistakes. I mean, one of the smartest things I've ever done is give the Dummy Tax Award to the employees for making mistakes, to encourage mistakes, and have everyone tell what lessons they're learning. But it is a consistent, persistent pursuit of this potential. And if everyone's pursuing the same potential, utilizing the same values, and being gracious and forgiving and accountable, I feel as if, you know, we have the acknowledgement, meaning that we have acquired the knowledge to be happy in the activity that we get paid for. I think just the mere aspect of redefining my place of activity as activity I get paid for other than work, it's just like talking to a plant and saying bad plant, bad plant, bad plant. That plant's going to die, and saying beautiful plant, beautiful plant. It's amazing when you tell people, hey, this is activity we get paid for. We're blessed, right? We don't get paid for all activities. It's better to be paid for activity than not be paid. I use the San Diego Padres as an example. You know, there's a person right now who plays second base for the Padres. He gets paid $2 million. And he told me, yeah, I got to go to work. And I said, whoa, 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 whoa. You're not going to work, brother, because I would pay $2 million to do what you're doing. That activity I would pay. If they let me do it 162 times this year, I would pay $2 million to the Padres to let me do what you're doing. So it can't be work. It's activity you get paid for. It's activity I would pay you, but it's work. And I think that nuance is so important in what you do. And I think when you see that a 401k, to make it applicable to what you do, affords you time and opportunity for activity that you now can get paid for that nobody else gets paid for, like hanging out with your grandkids, sitting on the beach, traveling, writing poetry. That's what a 401k represents to people who work with me and collaborate with me, enhancing that experience that we all share. I certainly appreciate you, Dan, waiting to come on.
Yeah.
What an extraordinary business and question. People can reach out to you at 401go.com. Anywhere else you want people to reach out to you at?
They can email me, Dan, at 401go.com as well. I love to chat with small businesses. That's probably one of the best parts of my job.
That's great. Activity you get paid for.
The activity I get paid for, yep.
Take care, Dan.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, Dan.
Right on. All right, my friend. Takeaway for the day, learn.blainebartlett.com/LMM Mindset Mastermind. What's your takeaway for the day?
Well, it's Mindset Mastermind. I'm going to just kind of steal something from the tag there. Moving possibility to profit. I mean, that's one of the things that we thematically have looked at. What's the possibility that's this opportunity presents? And then the question from an entrepreneurial perspective is, how do I move that to profit? All three of our guests and the two guys that you had on earlier, and forgive me for forgetting their name right off the top of my head. Yeah, I love these guys. I love them. I love that that little segment. Moving possibility to profit. It's all about opportunity. The universe is rife with opportunity, and our guest today spoke about that. And they're diamonds just scattered across the field. And if you start paying attention to it, you can notice that, there's a diamond over there. Let me pick that up and see where it takes me. And it will take me to profit if I'm paying attention.
Yeah, and I love that. For me, it's just interference. I think all, whether it was, Alan and Kevin, Claudia, Sean, or Daniel, it's helping people clear the interference between them and what already exists. You know, and in all businesses, in personal life, you know, languages, right? This speaking is an interference if it's not done correctly. And you know, I use an example of a fad, but there's so many other examples just in people who use the same language. And how many times, you know, Lou Holtz, the famous coach from Notre Dame, said, "It's not what I say, it's what they hear." The reason they don't hear what you're saying is because there's interference between interference, right? And that interference is caused through the ego, or you know, through the faulty senses that we have. So let's all work on shifting the paradigm. Let's clear the interference between us and what we already are: happy, healthy, worthy, and wealthy. And I know abundance will reign upon all of us, a world of more than enough of everything for everyone, which is a lesson you taught me. And by the way, I hope I was a good student when you heard me talking about the energy of money and time, because those are lessons that I learned from you and have appreciated over the years and studied myself. But you set me on a course with time. I remember one of the first deep conversations we had over a tequila, by the way, was about time. And you blew my mind about time as a man-made construct. And I went and set forth on a journey that I'm still on, by the way, to understand the 24 hours of activity that we're gifted every time we open our eyes. Well, you're a gift to me. Your wife's a gift to me. And I love doing these shows with you. Thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure. I love being here with you, and I'm looking forward to the filming in 4 weeks here. Bloomberg TV.
Yeah, you're Tuesday, July 13th.
Tuesday, July 12th. Yep.
All right, cool. All right, send my love. I will see you soon.
Okay, buddy.
Thank you so much. All right, here we are. It's Mindset Mastermind. learn.blainebartlett.com/LMM. If you haven't joined his mastermind, you're making a big mistake. It's changed my life. You can always email me, david@dmeltzer.com. 5 daily practices, my books, guides, exercises, ebook, audiobook. I'll sign a book, send it to you, ship for it, pay for shipping. I don't care. Tomorrow's training, what do we got? Office hours at 5 a.m., Clubhouse at 6 a.m., which is the Breakfast of Champions. And then we have training at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Stop lying to yourself training. Who here lies? All of us. Who here lies to themselves or their selves? All of us. Let's stop lying to ourselves. Let's live to our potential. Try to clear the interference between us and ourselves. Anyway, most importantly, I want to thank everybody involved: Kevin and Alan and Claudia and Sean and Daniel, and of course Blaine and my boy Matt producing the show. Most importantly, everybody, be kind to your future self. Do good deeds. I'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, 5 a.m. Pacific time. Take care.